Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Tanzil Mirza. Today we'll learn about properties in Javafx. We'll see what properties are and how to use those properties. There are several other concepts related to property, for example binding, and it's not possible to cover everything in the same video, so I'll try to divide this video into different parts. We'll see all those bindings and all those related concepts in the later videos, but for now we'll focus on for this particular video we'll focus only on adding the property. Okay, so property is required when you have to perform some real-time changes. Let's suppose you have a text box and a label, and you have to change the label text as you type in characters into your text box in real time on the screen. Wait, let me show you an example. Let me first navigate into my folder, cd documents and Javafx. This is where I keep all my Javafx programs. Now here let me launch Java label and text field. Let's launch this. See, there are two text fields, and as see, I'm typing into this text field and it is updating the two labels, both the labels. It is in real time, it is updating both the labels. See, so if you want to achieve these kind of things, then you have to understand how properties work. Let me clear this up. Okay, how properties work, how binding works, so you have to understand all these things. So for this particular video I'll just show you how to add properties to these videos. Okay, now I've already created a file, prop example.java. okay, see, I've already populated this file. I've already loaded this file with some starter, with some default code, and don't worry, I'll provide this code and the final code as well, both in the description, so don't worry about that. So you can so that you can start up from this point itself. Okay, you don't have to write all this code. And let me show you, and this is a simple code. It does not performs anything right now. We will be adding some more functionalities to these, but let me show you. Let's just Java prop example. See, it's a simple stage with a simple button, name has changed, and it will not, even on the click, it will not perform anything, because right now this function is empty, set on action. Okay, we are not performing anything right now. We'll add more and more functionalities to this. Let's clear this up. Okay, so we'll start from this point itself, and I'll provide this this raw file into the description. You can just download it from the GitHub and start it. Just start coding from here. Okay, so what I'm going to project in this particular video is that I'll have an employee. Okay, the employee will have his first name anonymous by default. Then we'll have a change button over there, as I showed you, the change button, and on the click on that change button, the employee will have his name changed to George. Alright, so let me show you something. Now let's start with the code. So I haven't created the employee class yet, so I'll create that file in front of you, employee.java class employee. It is going to be the simplest file. Okay, let me take his first name, and first name, let it be, I told you by default it will be anonymous, and of course this is going to be of type string. Alright, now I'll create one more function, a simple setter and getter function we are going to create. Okay, then it will be public void set first name string, because we'll be getting this first name from this class as an argument. So first name, let it be first name itself, not this. Now here we'll have to copy this value, first name is equals to first name. Okay, now after this we'll create a getter function also, void get first name. Okay, let it be not void, the spelling is not correct. Okay, let it be of type string, so that we can return this first name. Cool. Okay, let's go back to the code. Now in order to call those functions, those getters and setters functions, obviously we need these functions I'm talking about. In order to set the value and get the value, of course we need to create employee. Let it be emp, and then we'll instantiate this class as usual, employee and emp. On the click of the button, as I told you, we'll call emp dot this function set first name, and we'll pass a value, suppose George. Alright, done. Save the code, compile it again. Atom, it will be Java C, compile, and then we'll run the program. Oops. Yeah. See, right now you will not see the changes. Okay, but assume that since we have called this function set name first, the changes occurred. Okay, in the background the changes were successfully occurred. Okay, now you must be thinking that we could have used set text method to change the text, but imagine a scenario I just showed you. There's a similar scenario where you have to change the last name of the same employee to something else, and that too in the real time. So for real time changes, you will have to associate a listener kind of thing to the first name, and that's not possible with the set text. See, you have to go there. For that, I'll have to assign a listener to first name. Okay, which will keep on monitoring the old and the new value, which will keep on monitoring the values, the old and the new value of this particular first name, and adjust the value of other fields and other states accordingly. So we can add a listener to this first name, which will be listening to the values of this first name and will make changes accordingly. But there is a problem, man. There is a problem. This first name is a variable. This first name is a variable and not an object. You cannot do this. Let's say, okay, let's remove it from here. You cannot simply say that, let it be here only, first name dot add listener or something like that. You cannot do this, man, because this add listener, add action listener, and all those kind of listener can be applied on the objects, and this first name here is not an object. This emp is an object. See, this emp is an object, but this first name is not an object. It's just a part of an object. Okay, it's a property of that object. So it's a property of an object. So how can we do this? How to treat these variables? How to treat these variables and values as properties? So for that, we'll use a special class, string property class, create a reference type variable of the same, and make it point to an object of simple string property. Okay, I'll show you, don't worry. Just make some changes. First of all, this is not going to be string anymore. Okay, this is going to be string property. Okay, because employee is going to be an object, and string, this first name is going to be a property of this string, of this employee class. Remove this thing from here because this is not the right way to do this. Now we have created this as a reference type variable. Now we'll create an object of simple string property. Now this function, this constructor, it will accept three parameters. The first parameter is the object who is calling this variable, and in our case it is the current one, so this. Now the default value, not the default value, this variable name. Okay, first name, and then the default value, which was anonymous. Okay, this is and I forgot an important import Javafx dot beans. It comes under beans property dot simple string property. That means copy and paste it over here, because we have to import this string property as well. Okay, this string property we have imported, and this simple string property we have imported. Now what we'll do, we'll make some changes. This is not going to be public void. Okay, this is not, it is done. Let's do this first name dot set in like this, and this is not going to return you like this. Just say first name dot get. We'll call these functions. Okay, and let me come back here. Yeah, so we are here now. Let me, okay, we will test this later on. So now we have created everything. Okay, now we are ready to add this add listener. We are ready to add listener to this first name. Okay, now just remove this thing here, emp dot first name dot add listener. Now we can add the listener. Okay, there's no problem now. Add listener. Okay, now this listener it accepts three parameters. First will be the object. Okay, then the other one will be the old value, and the third one will be the new value. Okay, and it is going to be a lambda expression. Here you can test this code by new. It keeps a track of the old value also. New value is the new val, and old value was, what was your old value? The old value. Okay, now here set, not set, emp, the same object we'll use, and we'll call, see what's going on here, emp dot set first name George. Okay, see, let me first test this code. Compiled, and now we'll run this. Okay, now we have changed. Now we have changed. See, now new value is George and the old value is anonymous. Now see what's going on here. On the click of this button, we called this function. First we created this object of employee. Okay, we have to create the object of employee. Then using this object, we first called this set first name. We went there, first name. Okay, this function applied this new name George. It copied this George into the first name here. Okay, now when this function was called, this thing triggered this add listener. This thing triggered this add listener, and this add listener was having three parameters: the old value and the new value. Okay, so this is how this function was called, and these statements were executed. But let me tell you one more thing. This is not the preferred way to call these to associate this add listener. So most of the time you will be having more than one variables, so it's better to create a function instead. Public void, we are going to create a function. We are going to create a function which will return this particular object itself. Okay, so So if it is going to return this particular object, then the return type should also be string property type. Okay, and first camel case. Okay, first name property, this function, and this function will return this first name, this object. This first name is no longer an string, it's an object of type string property. Okay, so we're returning it here. So instead of calling this first name itself again and again, we'll call first name property as a function, and then on that function we'll call this add listener. Now let me see if it is working. Again compile the code, but it's compiled now. Now run this code. See, it's working now. Okay, so this is how properties work. So in the next video, in the upcoming videos, I'll show you how to add properties to two different components, and we'll see how to bind those properties. You saw that example, the text field example as I showed you. Let me check if it is there. Java label and field. Yeah, like this one. See, we have a component text field, it must be having some properties, and we have a label, it must be having some other properties. We binded those two properties, and that's the reason as I type into this text field, type in characters into this text field, the label also changes. So this is how we apply properties, and in the upcoming videos, in the next video, I will show you how to bind those properties. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'll be back with some new stuff, so stay tuned.